Awesome. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sam. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I am the Member Experience Manager at Advent Co-working. I want to thank you for joining our Advent Member Talks. This is a weekly event that features a different member each week on a topic of their choosing, allowing our members to share their skills and experience not only with fellow members, but also with the larger Charlotte community. So today I'm excited to be joined by Advent member Lisa Speer of Speerhead Solutions. And she is going to be talking to us today about how your brand is bigger than your logo using a simple framework and client examples. So if you have any questions throughout this, please go ahead and type them into the comments if you're watching on Facebook or to the Q&A if you're watching on Zoom, and we'll answer those throughout the talk. I'll hand it over to you, Lisa.
Well, hello, everybody. Ironically, I am actually not working out of my office in Advent today. I'm working from my home office. So I'm happy to be greeting you all now. So what I'm going to do is talk to you guys a little bit about how your brand is bigger than your logo. And this conversation is really great for if you have a new business and you're looking to create your brand. It's also really great if you have an established business and you're looking for ways to strengthen your brand. And lastly, if you have a business and a brand already, but you're thinking about rebranding, this might give you some insights in terms of ways to think about your brand and how it is bigger than your logo. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen, and give me just a second to get that up. And the other thing just to know about me right now is that I've been doing branding work for a long time. But the biggest thing I like to say is I like to take the jargon out of branding and take the mystery out. So my goal today is to really have this conversation be jargon free, really accessible, and enjoy. So we're going to now start the slideshow. So like I said, your brand is bigger than logo, and I'm going to tell you why and how. So usually when we think about a brand, the first thing we think about is the logo. We may even think about our business card. And these are a part of our brand, but they aren't the only thing. Sometimes people forget about their branding once their logo is done or they have their business card. So I like to say your brand is an immersive experience. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that is. So first, I've broken out it into 3 areas. Your brand consists of all the visual elements. And the visual elements include things like your logo, your business card, your website. It can include your marketing materials. It can include things like your fonts, the typefaces that you use with your company. It can also include your colors and even your photography style. So for example, today, kind of pay attention. I'm using different fonts and colors throughout this presentation that are, quote, on brand for my business. So this is things that sometimes people don't think about, but if you think about with photography, well, sometimes people use everything in the foreground, really close focus, and everything blurred out in the background. Or other people use really muted tones. Still, other people use really highly saturated colors. It's like really vibrant. And some brands even use black and white. So they each convey a different tone, a visual tone for the brand. So next we have the verbal elements of your brand. Now these are things like your business name, that sets a tone. Your tagline, it communicates something about your business, whether it's helping support the brand by helping describe it better. If your brand name is maybe not so clear, like what you do. So like Speerhead Solutions for me, you get an idea that I solve some stuff, but you don't know what category of business I'm in. So my tagline is a strategic branding business. It helps actually describe what business I'm in. But other taglines really help, say the customer benefit, or even like M&Ms, melt in your mouth, not in your hands. But then we get the actual brand personality can come through in a tagline. So if you think about Nike, their tagline is just do it. Well, that tone says a lot, right? Like they're not about taking it slow. They're about just get in there and do it. So these are all even the style of copywriting. Like if you think about your website, there's a particular personality that's going to come through with your social media. Are you writing in a way that's more formal, or is it more informal? Is it serious, or is it playful, or somewhere in that spectrum? Is it really accessible for people, or is it full of industry jargon because that's who you're talking to? So these are all things that can help you think about whether it's written or spoken. Think about the verbal elements of your brand. So next we have the experiential elements. And if you think about it, your customer is going to have an experience, whether they've started working with you already or they're in that sales process where they're just discovering you, they're just learning about you, maybe they're just talking to you or finding your website, whether you're a product or service business. There's like a whole discovery process that they're going to go through. So it doesn't start just when they've hired you or they bought your product. It actually starts before then. So if you think about, the types of services or products you offer is going to help shape their experience. Is it all done online and it's maybe a little more impersonal, or is it something that you're walking side by side with them hand in hand, or it's like a really custom made product where you have to consult like maybe a piece of jewelry? So there's a lot of things that you can think about just in terms of the client experience of how you offer your product or service. There's also the pricing. I mean, is your pricing designed to be premium? Are you really only trying to reach like a certain elite piece of the market? And that's okay if you are, but being really clear that your pricing is going to help dictate the experience people have. Some people are looking for that. They want that VIP. Other people are really all about the accessibility. They really want to know what your business stands for and the ways that you're making it easy for a wide range of people to be able to purchase your product or services. And then there's a whole spectrum in between. Then there's also the actual customer service. Like, do you have clear policies around how you handle if someone's unhappy or if they need to return something? It's also just how you answer the phone, how you handle emails. That actually creates a brand experience for people. And then lastly, another thing in this category is your process. Like, some people have a really clear 4-step process in working with people or purchasing something. Others might be simpler, might be more complex, but it's actually how you provide your products or services as a process is part of your brand as well. Any questions so far, Sam? Okay, I'm going to keep going. So all of these 3 areas actually work together, and you can see that, your logo is just one part of this circle, and it's only part of one category here. It's just one small piece. Now, it's often an early piece, similar to the naming, but it's definitely not the only one. So I'm going to share a client example through some different facets. So this is Bob Conlon. He's a relationship coach. And if you think about it, we are starting with him. Immediately, you see a visual connection between the tattoos on his photo on his arms, and then you see the style of logo that we designed for him. It's actually very inspired by his tattoos. Now, he's a relationship coach, and at first glance, you might be like, who is this guy? But he's a big teddy bear. And he was trying to be the suit and tie guy. He was trying to be the corporate guy for a little while. And what he realized is his heart was really in relationship coaching. He'd been through this great training program, and he realized that the people he was really drawn to, the people he wanted to most work with, were people that were interested in working on their relationships. So we started, in this case, visually, that we wanted to make that connection. If you look at his business card, his tagline is here too: creating strong relationships with courage and heart. So, there's things in both of these slides that you can see. There's courage, there's heart, literally heart, but there's also the grit, right? Like, it's not just this perfect, pristine thing. And the tagline, creating relationships with courage and heart, is really the core of what he's committed to for his clients. So we really used, in this case, a customer benefit. That's their focus with the tagline. Conlon Coaching already says what he does. He's a coach. But they're creating strong relationships with courage and heart. The tagline supports like the actual category of coaching he does. Then we go onto his website. And you'll see here that that statement, his tagline is front and center. That's the first thing he really wants people to see. But then we're looking at like, okay, are you looking for more power and purpose in your relationships? Now you're starting to see who are the people that he's trying to connect with, people who want to work on their relationship with their self. He's there for people who are working on their romantic relationships. And he's also working with people on their relationship of their career, like where they're at in their career life, where they want to be next. And we're also saying here coaching creates greater clarity, direction, and velocity to what you want from life. So, at a quick glance, his website's communicating a lot of things, both visually and verbally. Well, I wanted to give an example of experience, right? I can't show you him coaching people, that's confidential. But what I can do is show you some testimonials where we actually can see the client experience through the words the clients are choosing to write. So I'm just looking through 3 of these here. So first off, you'll get the clients spreading the love. Like we didn't just say testimonials, we talked about clients spreading the love because that's actually what they're doing here. So here, I'm going to pull out a few phrases. He always approached me with love and kindness. I could feel his care and love in every conversation we had. Many of us don't really understand our potential and heart's desire. He had a way of pulling that out of you in such a caring and loving way. By no means is the journey without hardship and work, right? We talked about the courage, but the discovery process is beyond rewarding. And then the third one, I'm pulling out another little piece. He helped nudge me out of my comfort zone where all growth lies. Let's see, what else did he say? Or she say, helped recognize truths, skills, and strengths about myself that I never thought I had. So you can see how, in this case, the client experience, they're actually talking, they're not using the exact same words like courage, but you can see how the testimonials actually really support their experience in working with Bob. And I just think this is such a great example because sometimes you just really can't see what the experience someone has of working with somebody, but you can tell through the testimonials and what they say and how they talk about you to other people, what the experience is. And then I wanted to show, because we're also talking about, branding's a system. It's not just the visual. It's not just the verbal, it's not just the experiential, but we do want to have a way to sort of frame it up so that at a quick glance, you can have a snapshot of the brand. This can be helpful for if you're hiring a vendor to say help you with a trade show booth, or something that your designer doesn't actually do. Maybe your brand designer doesn't build websites, or maybe your brand designer doesn't feel like they can do PowerPoint or do trade shows. Well, this is a little snapshot of the brand that people can look at and reference as they're helping you build out other elements. So here we have the logo usage, we have the icons that are used as well with a little description. We have the brand personality. In this case, his brand personality is courage, open, inspiration, partnership, and empowerment. And then we have the breakdown of all the brand colors. So there's the primary colors, and then there's the secondary colors. And they're broken down by the digital usage, the RGB. They're also broken down by the web hex code colors, and they're also broken down in the print colors, which are CMYK. Now that stuff isn't so important for you right now, but it is important to know that with your brand, you need different versions of your logo that can work in different environments and for different needs. So a designer can help you with all that, but it is important just to have that sense that, you want to kind of know the range of your colors and how they're used so that everything matches up. Because our goal is to have your brand be consistent, cohesive, and compelling, and clear. So clear, cohesive, and compelling. That's maybe even a better way to say it. And then we have the pattern that we use, that textured pattern that we used in a lot of pieces for Bob. Like you can see if we go back really quickly, there's the silver version, there's the mid blue version, there's the bright blue version, there's these darker versions. So we're using the brand colors through different ways to help talk about the different categories, right? You see the red is for self, the burgundy is for romance, and the purple is for career. So it's another way we're using color to help segment the different parts of who he's working with. So I wanted to also share this. This is personal for Bob. Like, I'm friends with Bob, like I've worked with him years ago. We're friends on Facebook. And this is an example of how Bob embodies his brand. You know, we like to think of like business and personal are separate, but there's really stuff that can cross over. And why I'm sharing this is because at 20 weeks, his wife, her water broke, and they had a 1% chance of his baby surviving. It was a really dark time for them. And what I see from the outside is that he and his wife really did approach the situation with courage and heart. And just a week and a half ago, at 32 and a half weeks, she had her baby. And the doctors are all just saying, and nurses, they're saying, we don't use this word, but this is like a miracle baby, like happy, healthy, still in the NICU, but really survived a lot of odds. And so it wasn't just that the courage that they approached this situation, it's how Bob was being with his wife throughout. Because of coronavirus, they couldn't be together. So he showed up at the hospital, called her up, and had date night food prepared. He set up a little table outside. He's eating, they're on Zoom, and she's eating food upstairs, and he's eating food downstairs in the outside. She's 3 floors up. Well, because of who they were being and the stories that were going around and people, you know, hearing about this and being really inspired, it started catching on the local news. And then it started getting picked up on the national news. And then it started getting picked up on the international news. So you can see the top, that's a German publication. The UK, the photos here are from the UK publication, the Daily Mail. Just doing my quick Google search, you know, you can see CBS, Good Morning America, ABC, Fox News, NBC Chicago. You know, this is a case where Bob embodied his brand. It's resulted in people being inspired, but he and his wife, she's a relationship coach too, they're getting tons of client leads. They're being featured in different ways. He's writing a book. He was already writing a book, but they're going to have a lot more traction now because of that. So it's just really inspiring how, you know, embodying your brand doesn't have to be just this thing that you turn on and off. It actually can be something that it extends into your personal life. And this really leads me to the behind the scenes of your brand. So as I was starting out today, I started with the more obvious things because that's the things most of us think about. So whether, again, you have a new brand that you're trying to create and you think first thing like name, logo, or you're thinking about strengthening your brand, you know, all of a sudden you realize like, oh, if it's bigger than this, like there's all these other areas that I could be paying attention to. Or if you're rebranding, you realize like, oh, wait, I've had a business, I've had a brand. What are the things I might want to do differently? But what often doesn't get talked about is the behind the scenes of your brand. And for me, this is critical. This is actually my first stop. I don't do any design or any business naming without it with my clients because it's actually so important. Behind the scenes really sets up the clarity and the momentum and the strategy for your brand. So I like to say strong brands require clarity and strategy. These are the things that can fuel the visual, the verbal, and the experiential. So here we have all three of those coming together, but we also have that brand foundation in the center. And that's, again, what I call the behind the scenes of the brand. So let's kind of take a quick look at a few of these pieces. Now, there's nothing really to see with the strategy behind the brand, but I did pick some photos and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these areas. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be everything, right? We have a short talk today, but I did want to sort of at a high level kind of take a look at what can happen behind the scenes and how it ties to the visible things of your brand. So first, I love this photo. Passion led us here. If you think about it, when you start your business, there's a passion either to work for yourself, there's a passion for what you do or this idea you have. The passion is the thing that gets you building something. But it's also, you know, ties to your purpose and your mission. So a lot of times people get, you know, a little hung up on the mission, like, oh, it sounds too grandiose, or, oh, I'm trying to get it perfect. But sometimes I like to think about your mission as your purpose. Like, why are you in business beyond making the money? Like, yes, you want to make money. We need to make money to stay in business. But really, what's the purpose? Like, why are you creating your business? And I like to think about it. People talk about what's your why, but I like to think about this as your little why. Like, what is this on like that sort of day to day, year to year basis? And when you think about it as a mission or as a purpose, and it's behind the scenes of your brand, it will actually help you make decisions about what services or products you're offering, how you might grow and evolve over time. Does it stay on point? Or are you really veering off your mission or your purpose? So it's something that, yes, it ties to your brand, but it also ties to your business. Sometimes people talk about these things in their business planning stage. Um, that's great. If you've already covered that in your business planning stage, that's wonderful. But so many times people start their business and they just like jump right in. That's why I like to often do it, make sure that it's done in the brand stage, because you're clear, you're starting to like put stuff out there in the world, and we want to make sure that you're clear and you're strategic about this piece. Next, we have your vision. And this is the bigger why. Like, what's the impact, the longer term impact that you're trying to make? For me, I really want to take the mystery out of branding. Yes, I can do it on a day-to-day basis, but I'm really day-to-day focused on helping people be more effective with their brand, and so they can actually shorten their sales cycle and better connect with their clients. That's my more tactical, the smaller why. But my bigger why is taking the mystery out of branding. And, I may never fulfill that for a million people in my lifetime, but it's giving me a big goal to work on. It helps me when I have my podcast, my bigger term vision. I like to make sure that then my podcast, not just my services that I'm offering for people, but my podcast really aligns with my bigger vision. So that's a big piece too. Like, when I started my business, wasn't even listening to podcasts back then. But once I decided to create a podcast, I needed to make sure that it aligns with my bigger mission and vision. So I hope that gives you a couple examples. Next, I like to think about whether you're one person, you're a two-person business, or you're a 50 or 500 people business. Your brand values, your business values are also going to really help shape things. So we talked a little bit about, customer experience. Well, your values is a great way to think about the experiential parts of your brand. Your values can help you determine how you offer your products and services. You can see we're starting to connect the dots between the planning stages, the behind the scenes stages, to what gets put out there in the world. And so your values are guiding principles really for how you shape your business and your brand. So, often there's a lot of values people hold dear, maybe personally, and they may cross over into your business. Or they may be slightly different because the way you're using your values is a little different. Maybe you're responsible for staff. Maybe you're responsible for corporate partnerships. Maybe it's just you and you use subcontractors. So if that's the case, or you have to hire outsourcing for something, if that's the case, your values can help you make decisions about who you're bringing on, who's actually going to, in a way, be representing your brand. Next is market. And this is something that a lot of times, people, especially early on in business, I just want to serve everybody. I can do it for a lot of people. But I think the more specific and clear we can be about our market, the better we can connect with our audience, with our customers, with our prospective clients. Understanding our market actually allows us to talk to them. And you can see how this ties back to the verbal parts of our brand. People feel that if you're speaking to them, whether it's on the website, whether it's in a discovery session with somebody, whether you're looking at the products that they're offering and how they're describing them, if people feel like you're speaking to them, they can make it easier to connect It can make it easier to feel like they are in line with what you're offering. But if you're speaking generally, broadly to everybody, it's pretty generic. And really, then people don't have a reason to care. So when I think about market, there's a lot of different ways you can think about market in relationship to your brand. But the biggest thing is to, understand like what your product or service, like who it's really for, what problem or pain point or aspirational thing you're helping them solve, and really understanding if you're trying to reach several groups, you might need different messaging for the different groups. You may need to think about your website being organized in a way that these groups can clearly self-identify and find the pieces. So in this case, it could be through your navigation at the top, or it could be the way on your homepage things are chunked out into different sections. Lastly, in this little section, it's your brand personality. Your brand personality is your vibe. It can be a series of adjectives, but it also can be like, again, this whole embodying. So just thinking about your brand personality, if you don't, have a good grasp of that, definitely talk to somebody, because your brand personality is going to come through in all three of those areas. So I like to say people are drawn to authentic brands, and that's really because being authentic lasts longer. It's also easier to maintain. People can tell if you're faking it. And there's a couple ways you all can connect with me. My website, Speerhead Solutions, is listed down here. And also I have a podcast called Branding BFF. It's free to listen. It's, on Apple Podcast. You can listen through my website, through some of the other platforms you can find through my website. And really, it's just a way to, I'm talking to different entrepreneurs in candid conversations about their brand and business. And it's a great way to learn things without it feeling like a class or educational. So feel free to check that one out, because that one offers a lot of different topics and angles about branding that are a little distinct of this overview that we're talking about today. So I hope you've really grasped how your brand is bigger than your logo, and thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. That was like so informative and so helpful. And we did have a few questions pop
Awesome.
up. So I'm going to try and kind of combine them a little bit just to be mindful of the time. But
Sure.
firstly, one of your first slides, you mentioned all these different aspects of what a brand is. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times when we think brand, we think, what's our name? What does our logo
Yep.
look like? Right. But what are some tools that you would suggest for folks to help them really like figure out those different aspects and, like zoom out to see the big picture of their business?
So I want to make sure I understand, because we talked about the three different areas. I think it's first figuring out what are the base items that you need first to establish your brand. So a lot of times that is your business name, your tagline, your logo. People can do business without a website, but it's a big credibility thing for people these days, particularly if people buying products and services. So I would say like start with the first things that are the earliest connection points. If you think big picture, I like to say your brand is the bridge between you and your clients. So it's really all the stuff, all the things. So big picture is pretty much every touch point you have with clients. But in terms of then, okay, where do you focus? Start with the key building blocks that you see as the first connection points. The first way for people to understand who you are, what you do, and who you do it for.
That's great. Yeah. And let me just ask two more of these. The next one is obviously there's a lot of different parts of building that brand, and you yourself as the business owner may not have the skill sets to do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there companies out there that will do all of it for you, or is it more of kind of like finding different contractors who can support you with those different aspects of building your brand?
Yeah. Really big companies can do everything, and there's usually the price tag that goes along with it. But also at the same time, hodgepodge can feel very piecemeal, right? Like, so I just did a brand refresh for a company. We built on what they had, but she's like, when I first created my business and brand, it was all very piecemeal. And after going to my class, she was like, I want to make it feel like it's all working together. So what I would say is, think about what are the key things that you feel like you need support with, and what are the things that you feel like you can do on your own. I'd say strategy is something you really should work with somebody else on. But some people feel like they have the skills to build their own website using Squarespace or Wix or something. So think about where you need support and then find the right resource that is just that segment or the bigger picture. But at least with a strategy, you've got somebody who's helping you think about it as a system.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Lisa. I hope everyone enjoyed this talk, and I know you already shared how folks can reach you. Would you mind sharing that screen just
Oh,
one more
sure.
time?
Let's do that again. Here we go.
Awesome. So everyone, reach out to Lisa. She's a really great coach, a great resource, and an Advent member. And I want to thank you for joining us for today's Advent member talk. I hope that you will join us next Tuesday at 4:30. Our member Bilal will be leading us through some personal privacy tools. So thank you so much again, Lisa, and I hope you have a
My
great evening.
pleasure.